I have a few questions I pose to Big J that never made sense to me, and hopefully he can explain them so the maniacs have a better understanding. Because for me, this one's got me stumped for a long time. As everyone knows, Jay was a member of the marching band in high school in Michigan. And I don't know the particular name of the school, but maybe some of his bandmates or whatever can hop on this live and give us further information. But in any event, I went to high school in the 80s, and so did Jay. Now, we all know I didn't play my senior year of football, and it's the biggest regret I have in life. And I know many people that didn't play football in high school, and they found other options like hitting the weight room, powerlifting, bodybuilding, which Jay did. He was a power lifter, and he hit the gym. But usually, in most cases, I would say in the 80s, the band was for what they called dorks. It's a cookie cutter term that those that weren't into athletics or those that weren't, say for instance, a burnout. Well, let me get back to this. There's three kinds of people when we went to school in high school for the most part. And I'm sure it's the same for Western Pennsylvania and Michigan. You had your jocks, those were the athletes. They usually hung out together, whatever, had parties together. Of course, I was never allowed to go, but then you had what they call the freaks, which in my day, that was your burnouts. That was your people that had long hair, maybe listened to metal, stunk like ashtrays, smoked cigarettes, walked into school, never carried books, threw out the cigarette before they went into the school. As soon as they got out of class, at the end of the day, they wouldn't have any books usually. They'd wear a lot of denim jeans, usually some Nike high tops, and then maybe a denim jacket or a metal jacket like Iron Maiden was pretty popular, Judas Priest, things like that. And they'd light up a cigarette when they went out. Some places called them burnouts. We called them freaks. Then you have what I call the dorks and the nerds, which a lot of people did. They might have been those in gifted classes, or the Key Club, which is basically a dork, nerdy club that students that didn't fit into those two categories typically joined. And obviously the marching band for men and women was what the dorks and the nerds joined. And let's face it, it was mostly boys in the band, but they had girls too. And once you had the girls that went into cheerleading and the majorettes and all that type of thing, then you had the freak and the burnout girls, which smoked cigarettes, wore the tight clothes, liked the same metal music, and in the 80s had the big hair and the heavy makeup. Scatman calls them outcasts. Yeah, different names, same thing. And the girls were the type of girls that the freak girls, you could find them underneath the stairwells in Riverview High School, in those hiding places, smoking, cutting class, gossiping, and I would sneak with them as much as I can. So, I used to jerk off in front of them and they'd touch me or whatever. And they had their purpose, but the girls that joined the band were dog ugly, butt ugly. Excuse my cookie cutter verbiage, butt ugly. And it wasn't something you were proud of, put it that way. They were their own little clique. So Jay, I can't understand for the life of me. Sure, you had an incident with your coach. To me, you had great football potential as a fullback nose tackle. But for whatever reason, in the same situation with me my senior year, your coaches and teachers, parents, they didn't have the guidance to tell you, to lead you in the right direction, show the opportunities for that. And I understand that. And I could see why you hit the weight room so hard. Casey Viator, famous bodybuilder from Louisiana, he had a similar story. He didn't like team sports. He used to train in a gym, I think it was his high school gym, right next to the football field. And he would always have his famous Friday night workouts when his high school football team would play at home. And they would simultaneously going on with his workout. And he used to get into a rage because he knew damn well he could be on that field, getting all those accolades, all those cheers, walking around on campus, and most of the big football players in the 80s, believe me, had girls. Girls were interested in you. You had your letter jackets or whatever. Girls, that was the cool thing back then. I don't know if it is now, but that was it. But Jay, answer this question. What would possess you to join the marching band? Big, strong guy like you. I know you were in good shape in high school. You were lean and mean. But come on, Jay, the band. My father used to tell me all the time. He'd say those big, goofy geeks in the band. He says that's what all the wimps joined. And I remember telling him a story of some kid I went to school with, said his father was tough and this and that. And my father would remember the name. And he would say, yeah, I remember him from high school. He said he wasn't tough. He was in the band, like a cast-off or whatever. And that was always something to frown upon. So, Jake, am I to picture you, in football, we got fitted for helmets. We even went to the local dentist, and they custom fitted our mouthpieces, which was nice. And we get measured, for our football pants, shoulder pads and stuff. You mean to tell me you got fitted for those ridiculous band uniforms with the hats with the chin straps on it and those pants with the pleats and that goofy top and those patent leather shoes or whatever? Are you kidding me? And you also expect us to, I don't know how you did it. You'd go into band camp while the football team we were doing 3-a-day practices, 2-a-days in the heat. And don't get me wrong, it was brutal, but there was just something about it. After a good practice or making it through that, you felt fantastic. It's an indescribable feeling. And I would, if I was turned off to a coach or whatever, I wouldn't go near that field. I wouldn't attend any games. I would stay in a gym and use that for motivation. Concentrate on your schoolwork and get the hell out of that school. But to join a band after you have a problem with the coach, what were you thinking? At our big field in Oakmont, Pennsylvania, when I played for Riverview Raiders, you would have for football team, we'd practice in the summer with the 2-a-days, sometimes 3-a-days. And the cheerleaders and band would practice probably once a day. And we'd see them from time to time, especially if you see Riverside Park from the old video I did with John Mazer in Oakmont. We had a field house, and that's where we had our dressing room for freshmen, sophomore on one side, and juniors and seniors on the other. Coaches had the middle area, and they had garage doors on each side of the locker rooms, of course, showers and such. And I told them many times where we'd keep the garage door open when the cheerleaders would be milling about the water fountain outside that field house before practice. And I would purposely pull my pants down, get dressed up for practice or whatever, putting on my jock strap, and you could see the cheerleaders looking in there. And I would always tell people, keep those doors open. Because on the other side, juniors and seniors, they weren't doing that kind of thing, but I quite frankly enjoyed it. And I'm sure the cheerleaders did too. But Jay, you're telling me for practice, you'd get up, you played a trumpet, I believe. I saw you, Brad did a video of Jay. If anybody can find that video of Jay playing the trumpet, just picture Jay in that band uniform with that goofy hat on, with that chin strap, marching around, playing a trumpet, kicking his feet up the way they walk. And you're still, in the summertime, you're going to sweat. And you actually showed up for that. Wow. And you'd look across the field or whatever and see the football team practicing, and you never thought to yourself, what the hell am I doing here? Why am I doing this? It's just unfathomable to me, Jay. And I can see different scenarios of where you would bring the band members to your home. I guess mom would go out of town or whatever, and you would tell them, we're going to have a party at my place Friday night. Mom's out of town. And you bring that collection of band dorks over, and they just start pulling up in front of your house. And then I can see it now. You have your little stereo sound system from the 80s, and that song, Keep Feeling Fascination, you got it blasted, and you're dancing around. Oh my God. What would possess you to do that? I mean, I know I can. You're an easy psychological read. A lot of guys that, for whatever reason, and I'm one of them my senior year, that didn't play football. You turn to the weight room and turn yourself into an animal because of that, and you made out better than some of those lousy half-ass football players. But God, you would go on buses to away games. You would get home from school on a Friday night, have your little dinner, dress up in that get up like a clown with the little chin strap, and go out and march and play your trumpet. You never once said to yourself, God, I wish I was on that field tackling, using my squat and upper body strength. My God. I need a response. We deserve a response, Jay. And I could see a scenario where it's a hot, sunny Michigan afternoon game, which they probably still had. We always had our Saturday games in early afternoon at Riverside Park in Oakmont. It was beautiful. They would start around noon so people could get home and watch the college games. And that was a really great thing. But I could see Jay getting heat exhausted or maybe tripping and pulling his ankle or whatever while marching in line with the rest of the band members. And then having to bring the EMTs that were usually meant for the football team and pick Jay up on it and take him off on a stretcher and take him to ER. Or before the games at home, Jay's mom and everyone would, oh, Jay, you look so handsome in your band uniform. Let's take pictures. And did you ever get harassed by any of the football players for that, or your ass kicked? Because I never did it, but I saw other kids from the band. People would just push them downstairs at school. Have no respect for them. And occasionally during a football practice when they're running plays over and over again and you're standing on the sidelines, you glance over and see the marching band together. And I guess, what is that big instrument called, the tuba? Like one of the band members would take his tuba and put it on some little dork other band member's head and blow it. And I guess all that pressure and noise. Did they do that to you, Jay? Put the tuba on your head? Unfathomable. I don't know how you did that. I mean, I feel I would, and I did it. I'd put on fishnet pantyhose at the Halloween party. I'd much rather do that than put on that goofy band uniform and strut around with that group of dorks. I guess you ran the show, Jay. But I can't see you doing it for women. Those are some butt ugly dogs that were in that band. And I just don't see it. And I'm sure my father, if he would saw somebody like you in the weight room that was playing in the band versus being on the football field, he would immediately say, what is that goof doing, that big goof with all that size and strength doing in the band? And what really gets me is you got football players doing drills, going over plays, linemen pushing the 7-man sleds, the 1-man tackling dummies, and Jay is going in marching directions that the band has. He has to memorize these goofy steps. I've had enough. I'll leave it at that, but just a little explanation, Jay, that's all.